Hey, hockey friends and families, got exciting news from our title sponsor, NHL Sense Arena. Most of you have asked us all the time, is it just for goalies? Can skaters use it? Well, they've just made a revolutionary new update called Dangle Pro. It's the world's first mixed reality stick handling trainer. Now, you've all seen that video of someone with them throwing a lot of different things, pucks, gloves, everything at them on the ice. NHL Sense Arena has found a way using the Meta Quest to do this in mixed reality. So you can dangle through live 3D obstacles that appear right in front of you, earning points and developing better stick handling skills in the process. It is so much fun. When I tried it, I was blown away by how fun it was, but also it's going to help your kids build faster hands and good habits. Like picking your head up while stick handling with the puck, something we talk about all the time. This thing is only available inside NHL Sense Arena, and they're giving, again, $25 off an annual subscription. They're very gracious with us. When you use the code OKPH at checkout, you can check that out at sensearena.com/OKPH. Again, sensearena.com/OKPH. And give your young hockey player that increased hockey IQ, gets more confidence, faster hands. But this new module called Dangle Pro, they've really outdone themselves with this. Again, NHL Sense Arena is the only VR hockey training platform officially licensed by the NHL. It's a proud partner of USA Hockey and the OMHA. And it's got hundreds of drills on here for goaltenders, for players. And again, just 10 to 20 minutes a day, a few times a week, can really sharpen your kids' skill set. Trust me, it's a far better use of screen time than scrolling on YouTube or just playing regular video games. Again, sensearena.com/OKPH, sensearena.com/OKPH, sensearena.com/OKPH. Get your $25 off. Check out Dangle Pro. And now, check out this episode. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome back to another episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm Lee Elias, and I'm joined by the beautiful Mike Finelli and beautiful Christy Burns. And today we're exploring a topic everyone talks about, but can't always get right: sports nutrition. Simple, meaningful habits that support performance, recovery, and growing bodies. For our experts today, we're lucky to have Danny Drake and Mike Dalberth, co-founders of Enduraphin, not to pitch their products, but to help us understand what works and what doesn't for youth athletes when it comes to fueling right. We'll be diving into common questions parents and coaches have about nutrition. Won't be dividing anybody, but we're going to talk about what you can prioritize, what to avoid, and how to find practical pathways that support both energy and enjoyment of the game. It is actually a very serious topic, friends. We see what your kids are eating as coaches. I know you have to find things quickly sometimes, but there are solutions. Guys, welcome to Our Kids Play Hockey.
Thanks for having us. Definitely. Yeah, that's an electric intro. I will say you could include the beautiful Mike and Danny next time, but it was great. It was perfect.
I was going to give other descriptive words. I'm a writer, right? You took electric from me, so now I can't even use that. But how about the informative Mike and Danny, right, when we get into it? Because, guys, listen, nutrition is actually one of the topics we get asked about a lot. And my belief, and I think all of us here, is that it's never as hard as people think it is, right? It just takes a little thought. So let's just start with this one. What's one nutrition strategy that gets overlooked, even when it makes a huge difference in young players?
Yeah, I think I can rip there first, Mike. But I think a lot of times, in this day and age of Instagram and kind of that beautiful image of what we all should be, we're looking for that kind of heroic dose, right? It's like this one thing that we can do, and it cures all. And in reality, I think it comes back to habits, right? The small habits throughout the day, from eating breakfast to lunch to dinner, right? And knowing ultimately what your goals are as an athlete, from a protein and calorie input, right? And then realizing, if you could be successful at winning breakfast, right? And then winning lunch, right? You're on the road to success day in and day out, right? And it's not this one, shoot the moon supplement or thing that you take. It's the little things that you do every single day, right? And I think, as you look at the busy schedule of a parent and, this young hockey athlete nowadays, right? There may be gaps, right, between breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? And that's where I think the parent comes in and plays a big role in making sure they have those healthy snacks along the way.
Right. And guys, I think it's important to point out to parents it's never too early to start that nutrition journey with your kids. Start them out little toddlers before they even hit the ice. Talk about that, how you can introduce these concepts to your kids at a young age that will carry with them throughout their lives.
Absolutely. I mean, our parents influence a lot of the decisions we make, right, from the very get-go. And some kids are blessed with parents that have good eating habits, and that gets passed through to them, and some just aren't. But I think, it's kind of a relationship that goes back and forth too, right? I mean, I know, when I was a kid, I was blessed with parents that did live kind of a more natural eating, healthier lifestyle. But my parents were also super open-minded when I would come back to them and have an idea of something that we could eat that would be a little bit healthier, right? So it kind of can be either one that really helps. But if the goal, like Danny said, is to get healthier as an overall, it's really the little things. At the very beginning, when this question was introduced, you mentioned that it's not hard. It just requires being, informed a little bit. So I think it kind of starts with that desire to want to know, like, what is a healthy versus unhealthy decision? And then how can we consistently do those small things well? That's what leads to success.
I've got a little 2-year-old girl, right? I think it starts even at that age, right? It's building those fun eating habits, right? It's the the fruit is as exciting as that ice cream, right? Like if you could start it there, then it's normal for your kid to grow and just do that naturally. I think it starts as young as, when they're starting to consume food.
You're right. Normalcy is that's the key.
Yeah, I want to add it in too, guys. You brought up a really good point about the educational side. I think sometimes parents get shamed and guilted and like, well, you go to McDonald's and it's because you're lazy. And the truth is, look, there might be a little bit of that, all right, but I've also been in the car when my kids are screaming. And the truth is this: we have to figure out how to, educate parents. So it's not like, okay, there's a fast food restaurant, I just have to get them out of the car. When your brain can go, okay, well, look, maybe I should have these snacks ahead of time. Maybe an apple is what they need. There are easy things to get, but if you don't think about them or don't know about them, you may not get them, right? So, Danny, I want to actually turn to you real quick here. Like, why don't we start with some like actionable items and go over like the things like you shouldn't eat, like you should not do this. And maybe it's with repetition, like I think anything once in a while might be okay, right? But what are the things you really should not be eating before a game and after a game?
Yeah, I think the obvious ones, right? To everyone here, right? We see, the quick food options on every corner as we're driving to the rink as parents here, and it is convenient to be able to go in there and get the food. And in our busy lives, I don't think that should be shamed, but, choose better options, right? If you need to be on the go and fast paced, right? There's a fresh kitchen right here in Orlando, similar to, the Cavas and Chipotle's of the world, right? Like choose the healthier option. And then I think be more programmed with it, right? That's kind of the solution to, staying away from those don'ts, right? Like the fat fried food, right, around lifts, like you're gonna feel slow when you're skating, and like I think for a young athlete, they're intuitive. They could feel their bodies, right? Like they need to start to realize, hey, when I consume this, the food is going to start to digest within about 30 minutes, right? How are you feeling, right? And start to dial in what they like and dislike, and then you'll be able to inform those habits, right? They'll be inspired to do it.
I think when you look at your nutrition as a family, right, and you look at it from the holistic perspective of I have to not only feed my athlete, but I have to incorporate the rest of my family into this other piece, right? So you might have a high performing athlete, but you also have other people in the family, right? So maybe can you guys just maybe talk a little bit about, when we make those, choices, what works, what doesn't work, and what you've seen now. And you guys, and just so the audience knows too, you're coming from really the perspective of a lot of the work you do with college programs and pros, right? So they have everything for them. They have a kitchen, they got nutritionists, they got personal chefs, they have schedulers, they have managers, they have all of those things that we all want as parents. Like Christy did that as a parent, right? She didn't have all that support. She was the support. So can you just talk a little bit about how we as families, might look at this and say, okay, well, without going crazy, what does work for pregame meals and postgame meals and in between meals? Like, what can I give my son or daughter that's outside? Like, that's not, I'm not changing my whole family's nutritional goals.
Yeah, I think you're right. We got started in collegiate athletics, right, up at Clarkson University originally, now working with about 100 Division I universities. So we see the behind the scenes of how athletes are grown and developed at that collegiate level, and it's world class, right? Everything is handled. The athlete gets plugged in and stays disciplined and sees results, right? And I think as parents, there are the little things, right? Start with the basics, like we said, right? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you're too fast paced, look at meal prepping on the weekend, right? So leaning into the lean proteins and quality carbs and greens, right? And then if you are too fast paced, you can't do that, right? There's dual working families, like there's ready to eat meals that I think are better options out there than some of these fast food options. And I think set the goal. You got to know what the goal is, right? What is your young athlete's protein goal? If you don't know that, then how do you know how much you're fueling them, right? And once you see that, you could start to just do a simple math calculation, back it out, and then have snacks that fit those gaps. And fill the pantry a little bit, and make sure it's accessible, right? I think what we've seen is compliance goes up when it's convenient, right? Like, and ultimately getting something is better than nothing, right? So, be more programmed and ultimately try, and work towards that goal.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I just say one thing too, just in reference to this particular subject? I mean, because we all had, Christy especially too, and myself, have teenage athletes that are dealing with all these different pieces of nutrition and scheduling. And I can tell you right now, I know every hockey family, they know when their power skating is, they know when their private lessons are, they know when practice is, they know when off ice training is. What I don't see is the calendar for when do I eat, what do I eat, and why am I eating this? And I think this is where, we all go into this kind of black hole of, oh my God, like, isn't just, like my son, he'll eat every minute of the day. Like, like if there's food on the table, it doesn't stay there. Right. So I think that's, can you talk a little bit about, kind of when we're all doing these early mornings, late evenings, we're trying to balance all of this stuff in our lives, what should we be trying to prepare for? And I think, not going from practice to get in the car and then maybe waiting till they get home. There's a lot that can go in between them to help your athlete recover and fuel, correct?
Right. And add in the scheduling challenges, especially as hockey families, because on the weekends, you mentioned, meal preps on the weekends. On weekends, we were in Canada or we were traveling. We had a hockey tournament. So weekends were tough for us. So I would pick a day during the week to do the meal prep that would carry us into the weekend. So I think, and Mike's hitting on it, you really have to come up with a nutrition strategy that works for your whole family, and that's going to work for your schedule.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. And start food first, and then as I think about our origins, right, and hearing how fast paced this youth hockey world is, and where you travel, right, and the new food options, and is it safe, right? Like, as a parent, is it safe is a huge question mark, right? And that's where we launched a product that had carbs and protein and was ready to mix. So more ready when you are, so you could throw it in the bag and travel to Canada, right? And then it's something quick and convenient that they could add. But there's there's other snacks like that out there, right? That, you could plug in that same kind of situation. But I think, like you said, Christy, programming it, seeing the future, knowing it's coming, and then having those ready when you are options to fill protein and carb goals, I think are, just from a fueling an athlete and that exertion on the ice or in the weight room, those are the big ones that you've got to be focused on. Obviously hydration too, right? A lot of kids are dehydrated, but yeah, protein goals are key. I think we're an under-proteined society, truly.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Yeah, no, so I got a couple. We're going to do two things here. I got one quick question, and then we're going to dive into an exercise for the audience, because I can hear our audience already in my ear going, listen, this is great, but I need something to do. Like, I need to know how to do this. So you mentioned protein goals, calorie goals. What is the resource people can go to figure that out? Because again, I can hear them go, okay, I get it, but where do I find that? So where would they first go to find those for their kid at their age? Hopefully not just going to a doctor. Like where are some easy places they can go to get that information?
For sure. So sports dietitians, registered dietitians are the experts in this field, right? They are studied at the highest level, and they conveniently have a sports dietitian association. It's called the ASPDA.
Yeah.
Sportsrd.org is the website. It's a fantastic resource. They've got PDFs for parents, right? Like dietitians at your favorite college or NHL team are contributing there. They're a part of that organization. That is a great one. Two, go support your local team. If you're a fan of the Rangers or another, the Sabres, go look on their website. They list who their strength coach is, their dietitian is, and they are in this world of social media as well. Go check out what they're putting out in this world, right? Because you're going to get it from the expert, right? Versus the bodybuilder pro that is putting out information from Chat GPT, right?
Right.
So
right. The information's out there if you just take the time to search. Now, the second thing I wanted to do is this little exercise. Okay, there's a parent listening right now, and they're excited. They're going to go to the grocery store right now because they believe in what we're doing here today. Let's build quickly, maybe 2 or 3 pregame or postgame or snack meals that they can do very quickly. So when I'm saying quickly, I mean, okay, I'm going to get the ingredients, take me 10 minutes, and I've got this done within reason, right? I'm not talking about cooking the chicken or anything like that. What are 2 or 3 quick things they can put together to replace the Big Mac and the Whopper and the, fast food of your choice?
Okay, I'll give that answer. But first, I will say as a caveat, what I like to do for myself and even Danny is we are first to admit that we are the entrepreneurs that built the product because we listened to the expert. We are not the expert, and we are not the registered dietitian. Like we don't create advice. We don't create meal plans. We just know that the information and resources are there because those are the people we work with every single day. So like if I were to just think about what I've seen from registered dietitians when they put together quick tips and ways to create quick meals that are healthy, kind of quick and dirty, easy to make, it comes back to the thing we've been saying over and over again, which is it's extremely simple, right? If we're looking at breakfast options and you want to make something that's quick and easy and you don't have time to, make an omelet with vegetables and meat and cut everything up, right? It's like you could still do a very simple bowl of yogurt, right? You go to the store, you get your Greek yogurt, you throw in some granola, you do a side of fruit, right? And then you could, if you don't have time to make a protein option, you could do a protein shake. And right there, you're going to get enough carbs, protein, and fat to get started in the morning. And none of those options take a while to cook, right? You throw some yogurt in a bowl, add some granola to it, maybe put honey on it if someone needs something a little bit sweeter, right? And then Greek yogurt also is super high packed with fat and protein as well. And then a side of blueberries or strawberries or a banana, right? And like that's a super simple, easy breakfast option that doesn't take a lot of time just to prepare at all, right? And then with lunch, if I'm going quick and easy and thinking of something, rather than stopping at Chick-fil-A and getting a chicken sandwich, you could grab one of those rotisserie chickens, whether you're in the Northeast and you go to Wegmans, or you're down south and you go to Publix, right? You can run in there and it's like $8 to $10, and it could feed 2 to 3 kids pretty easily, right? And you do it with a vegetable or a side of rice, and like there's so many options where, it takes maybe the extra step of walking in the store and buying it versus going through the drive-through, and it is a little bit less convenient, quote unquote. But like, how much extra does that really take, right? It's not taking the time to prepare every meal, right? Which when we look at, go ahead. It looks like you had an idea.
No, you
there.
can finish your thought. Finish your thought. Go ahead.
It doesn't take the time to prepare every single breakfast, lunch, and dinner if that's not sustainable. But there is a way to still get it done that might not be the most convenient as driving through a drive-through, but it's still not hard when we look at, getting it done the right way without cutting corners.
Yeah, I was going to say, you brought it up, Mike and Danny, and I think when I first got introduced to your product, and all these nutritional, supplements and shakes and opportunities to, get that extra protein in, was the fact that, nobody's saying you're the expert, and us, you're way ahead of us. Because to your point, you had to research. So I guess let's talk about a little bit about, you did the research, you went and you talked to all these dietitians and these professional trainers and all these people that have to work with the top athletes in the world. And you came up with a product to fill the void that they said they had. Yeah. Right? They had the void. They're like, well, you can't just keep, I can't give the kid 7 pieces of salmon at 12 o'clock because he has to work out, or I can't just eat rice every day, and I can't just do broccoli and all these, the colored plate of meals because I don't have enough time in my day. And really, at the end of the day, I couldn't eat enough of that to sustain the energy and the level of carbs and protein that I need as an athlete that's burning through all that stuff, right? I mean, they're just so talk a little bit about the product you were involved in, the research that went into it. What were those gaps? Like, why did somebody say, hey, we need this product because here are the gaps we're seeing?
Yeah. Definitely. So we, as mentioned, got started up at Clarkson University. Great Division I hockey program, men's and women's. Women's won like 3 national championships in the past 5 years while I was up there. And we're down in the locker room meeting up with their head strength and conditioning coach, who had a great mentor. And to see this process for athletes where there is a demand for protein post-lift, right? So within 30-minute window, and the timing on that is questionable, but within 30 minutes to an hour, you need to get protein in, right? And all these strength coaches and dietitians are trying to do that with 30 athletes in the weight room at a time, right? Like, this becomes a chaotic environment. And so we started to call on other strength coaches and dietitians across the US, right? And just consistently heard that, right? The process is inefficient, right? And when the process is inefficient, compliance goes down, which means they're under fueling, right? And so many practitioners, dietitians, would lean into a ready-to-drink shake because it's more convenient. You just dish out a protein shake, they grab it, they drink it, they recycle it, they're done. But as they tell us it's convenient, they look at the ingredients and don't like, the amount of sugar that they add to the product. They don't like the preservatives, the artificial flavors and ingredients that are in those products. And so that's where the light bulb kind of went off. And, we thought, how can we deliver quality nutrition conveniently and lean into the need of athletes, which is carbohydrates and protein at least a 2-to-1 carb to protein ratio, right? And so that's where Athletic Fuel was born for us. It's got 45 grams of carbohydrates coming from organic tapioca, organic brown rice, organic sweet potato powder, right? Turn that RTD around and tell me where the carbs are coming from. That was the light bulb moment. Then powder in a recyclable blending bottle, right? So just add liquid, right? Shake it, recycle it, and go. Increases that compliance. And then as we've seen the product evolve and grow within the space, athletes are adding different liquids, right? So it's customizing it. It's making it fun. They're not drinking that same vanilla every single day, right? They're adding in orange electrolyte and getting hydrated at the same time, right? So think your favorite orange electrolyte drink mixed in vanilla. It's like a creamsicle. Or parents, especially moms, right? Cold brew into chocolate, right? It's like a mocha, but instead of all the pumps at your, at your coffee shop that they're getting that from, it's from a natural flavor, right? And a natural sweetener and monk fruit and stevia. So that was how we got started. And then dietitians were using that product either pre heavy exertion, right? So athletic fuel is great for topping up carbohydrate and those glycogen stores that you need. So if you didn't eat within 2 hours of going to practice, it's a great, just convenient substitute or stopgap, truly, right? And then post lift, post game, right? When you're exerted, there's a lot of time that can elapse from the rink to getting home or getting to the food source, right? So that's where athletic fuel was born, and excited that now a third of the NHL and a bunch of the AHL and these teams see and use this product at that highest level for that exact reason.
Is it safe for teenagers? And what age would you introduce supplements to your kids?
Yeah, I think definitely talk to your dietitian just for guidance on that. But their recommendation on that website at sportsrd.org, right? These young athletes need protein, right? And if you even look all the way back to, as I mentioned, baby formula, right? I've got a little 3-month-old as well, right? He's not consuming baby formula, but in it is protein, right? Whey protein. So all the way from like an infant level, we're consuming protein. Now, quality of protein and making sure that there's no banned substances is a key. I think that's where that safety question for parents always comes into play, right? You see a goalie at the collegiate level getting in trouble for a tainted supplement a few years back, right? There is real risk, but when you look for NSF certified for sport and informed sport, there are 2 labels you can find. These are third-party labs that we send every batch of our product to test that what we say is on the label is actually in the product and that there's nothing else. There's no banned substances. If a product doesn't have that certification, then you're possibly at risk.
What was that certification again?
Yeah, NSF certified for sport, okay. Right? Certified for sport is the key, right? You'll see NSF, National Science Foundation, on your like microwave, right? They're a big organization. You need to look for certified for sport, right? And then informed sport is more known internationally. So our hockey friends from abroad, right, know informed sport, right? And so those 2 certifications are key. If they don't have it, you shouldn't be consuming the product. At the collegiate level, the dietitian will not provide you a product that is not certified by one of those organizations. At the NHL level, they won't provide it if it's not NSF certified for sport, right? And that's the same across baseball, NBA, NFL. That's the gold standard.
Right. And I think Christy brings a great point up about like just how I would hope a parent is going to research a product, like a training product, like the biggest, like the fad is you put ankle weights on kids and power skating. But you really probably should know, well, at what age should I do that? How strong should my child be? Is their form correct for that weight? Is there too much weight? Is there not enough weight? Like the same things you would do when you're giving your kid a training product. You're going to make them wear a heavy vest, during practice, and they're 6 years old. Probably not the best time to put the vest on. But so any training product, and I would imagine any protein supplement, any nutritional shake, anything you're adding to your diet is the same thing. A parent just has to go see an expert, go see their go see their their what do you call that when a kid goes to see a doctor when they're child?
Pediatrician.
My wife would know.
My pediatrician.
They go see a pediatrician, yeah. and then you and just the same thing. It's when you're training, you have to educate yourself about what you're training with, because just like a nutritional supplement, a hockey supplement, a training device could end up hurting your child if you don't use it properly.
So I want to dive in here. So for the audience listening, right, a lot of the stuff we're talking about, again, it is for all ages, but the level of detail we're talking about, you're getting a glimpse into what elite level athletes have to do. Okay. And again, the elite level athletes, they actually take the initiative intensely to figure out what they want to do. Now, again, I know our audience. We got the mite, the squirt, the peewee, and the bantam parents going like, guys, what? This is a lot. This is a lot.
Mhm.
So I want to rewind back and simplify it. And Danny, it's something you said early in the episode, and I love it. You said win breakfast, win lunch, win dinner. I love that. I love that mentality because I'm a competitive person and I want to win at things. And again, I would say too, pro athletes, they're competitive too. They'll compete with eating to be the healthiest or to the strongest. So this is where I want to go with this. We were talking before about, Mike, you gave that great breakfast. Yogurt, with some granola in it. Man, that is simple. All right. What I want to discover with all of us for the parents here is kind of bringing this up. I don't think parents and kids understand just how much of a dessert modern cereal is. And we eat this for breakfast every day. Look, I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's the greatest cereal ever made. You can fight me on it. I love it. It's also dessert. If you look at the side of the box, that is not a nutritious breakfast. That's a dessert. And I've made it now my dessert. Okay. It's the choice between those two types of things, the yogurt with the granola versus the Cinnamon Toast Crunch or whatever you want to put in there. If the cereal has a name like cookie something or cocoa something, if it's got the name of a dessert in the title, it's probably a dessert. All right. That's one thing. Then other things too. I think about this too. I remember I had a parent one time. Sometimes I get these microwavable vegetables, right? And they went into this whole tirade about, well, when you microwave it, all the nutrients are killed and all this stuff. I'm like, you're gonna go get fries from McDonald's in 10 minutes. There's not a compare. Even if it zaps all of the nutrition out of the vegetables are better than the fries are about to get. That's winning at lunch, right? So a lot of it's just destroying these preconceived notions. Parents, I'm going to say it again. There is always going to be a moment you got to go get the fast food. I get it. I totally get it. Okay. I've been there before. But these solutions are there. And it's the knowledge of knowing that processed foods are insanely bad for us, all of us. Right. And then the last point I'm going to make, and I'll throw it back to the group here, is that you got to somewhat inform yourself about these things. You got to be honest about these things with yourself. And you've got to take the time to find the right things, because the nutrition, guys, we're talking about in a hockey sense, it's well beyond hockey. Like, this is a life thing. I believe this. Tell me if anybody knows I'm wrong here, but it's like 70% of what you eat is like what your weight and your body turns into. It's not just the working out. I'll play the odds on the 70%. If you're telling me I can just eat right and be healthy, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I like to work out, but as I get older, the arthritis, we'll save that for another episode. The point I'm trying to make is that this is actually nowhere near as hard as people think. It just comes down to educating yourself, creating good habits, really knowing what not to eat. I think that's, look, ignorance is bliss. All right.
Uh-huh.
Knowing what not to eat 3 times a day, and then just go finding what works for you to make good decisions. Again, I'm on a pedestal.
Right.
Again. I do this.
I think also when we're talking to, Mike and Danny and what their product delivers and kind of what their sweet spot is in the world of professional and college athletics, is exactly what we want for our 8 and 9 and 10-year-olds.
Right.
It's consistency, right? It's like whatever you're doing, if it's not a shake, I mean, you could still have a shake. It doesn't have to be a protein shake. It doesn't have to have your product in it at all. It could just be just a plain something in the morning. If your kid doesn't like to eat cucumbers, if they don't like to eat kale, if they don't like to eat, like there's so many ways to hide great nutrition. But I think, and I think what we talk about, Danny and Mike too, on our show every day, is how nuts we are on the hockey side, that we want high performing athletes, but the schedules we put our kids in do not allow for high performance.
Why eat? Why eat when you can be on the ice, Mike?
And again, when we ask a kid to get up at 4:00 in the morning, miss breakfast, play a game without any nutrition in their body, that's for me. If I'm a 16-year-old up in a tournament in Massachusetts, a shake that I can make the night before, run it up, drink it down. I don't feel bloated. I feel light. I feel refreshed. I have energy. I then can go sit down on a plated meal, like a human being and eat. But I think we have to, because of the way our sport has designed training, we have to find these other things to supplement the lack of time and space that we give our kids to train properly.
Yeah, and I'd say to add another win, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, win post-workout nutrition.
Yeah.
But you got to win there too, right? That's when we took the body and broke it down, right? It's when it needs it the most. So win there and then take action, right? I feel like too many people, they're doing research, and there is a high quality product there ready for you. You just need to go procure it, bring it in, have it ready, and then test it, right? Put it to test, right? Versus, I don't know, it's not this. Like, you have to take action, right? That's how we can discover that increase in performance, truly.
Right. And I'd also like to, Lee and Mike, both of you are coaches, you get this. I think there needs to be a team philosophy too, because here, I'll give you an example. So I was really into the good nutrition for my kids, good breakfast, yogurt, packing healthful snacks, apples. And then during the tournament, between games, parents come in with the pizza, burgers, and fries.
Yeah.
And it's like, everything comes
Yeah.
undone.
What are
Right,
you
and then they
doing?
wonder why, and then they go, I can't believe we played so poorly in the second game. Oh,
Exactly.
really? I mean,
Yeah.
of course you did. And I think, so I used to get, we've had young elite athletes on here as a company, right, earlier in a couple of shows. And one of the things we all discussed, and this falls right into that same piece, is like, I know for my son, when we invested in playing elite hockey, when we invested in saying, we're going to do these road trips and go on these tournaments, then you have to invest in, well, I'm going to pack my own lunch. I'm going to avoid the sit down and, Taco Bell. I'm going to avoid the trap of everybody just shoving food down their face in a like every night. I know in my programs, like, I don't do pizza parties anymore. Like, it's too, like, and maybe it's because it's too easy. I don't know why everything has to turn into, we bought the kids 12 pizzas. I said, yeah, but they have to play
cupcakes or donuts.
So or whatever it is. But I think it's just but Christy's right. We as organizations need to do a better job of preparing options and educating what those options are. But it all starts with one or two families, right? Saying, no, I'm not going to that team meal that's being sponsored by, whatever,
Little
Taco
Caesars.
Bell. I'm going to sit in the corner by myself, and I'm going to eat properly, and I'm going to be ready for the game.
So, Mike, I will say that there was nothing like an old classic Pizza Hut back in the mid '90s, but those are gone now, so we don't have to talk about them. But look, just to your point, right? Here's one. I have a hard time with as a coach, since you brought it up, Christy. Is if there's a birthday for the young kids, I do get the Rice Krispie treat. I get that, all right? But that can't be every single time we're on the ice. I cringe sometimes where I see donuts every game. Like, every single game, there's someone in there with munchkins after the game. And it's supposed to be fun for the kids. Do me a favor. And I say this, go get some Go-Gurts, all right? I know there's sugar in them too. But I just want them to get some cheese sticks and bring those. The kids will eat them. Right. And they'll be excited that you brought something for them, right? It doesn't have to be the high sugar foods. Also, I don't like linking that as a reward for playing well. I think this is another trap a lot of people. Great game, let's go to Dunkin' Donuts. It's like, whoa. That is not, now you're teaching the kid, well, if I play well, I'm going to get donuts. And again, Christy, you're saying, what does that turn into when they're 25 years old?
So many years of that.
Danny, turns into something dangerous.
I was going to ask because, obviously, you guys mentioned, obviously you don't just start up a company, a nutritional company. Like, you wake up one morning and say, we should just throw some whey protein and some dried,
powdered sweet potatoes.
Powdered sweet potato in there. So you went through all these processes. Can you just talk a little bit about like what the feedback you're getting from the athletes? Like, because you meet with these athletes all the time, and because these guys are very particular about what they put in their body. So what are they saying? I mean, what would be like, maybe, again, what's the negatives of it? Like, what's the pushback and maybe some of the decisions they're making say, oh, I'm choosing this because it's doing this exact thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so, that's so important. Team culture, right? Like you can control the home environment. You can't control that team environment, but the coach and the organization and the booster can, right? Whoever that mom that's bringing in the snacks can choose. Like, how about create a catalog and know that these are the options that we're okay with coming in, right? Like our business is primarily working with teams, right? So it starts with the team. It's a team culture, right? It's the dietitian saying, this is what we do, right? Right. It's the strength coach buying into, this is what we do, right? So I challenge the coaches and the organizations out there, right? Provide these options, right? Over the other options that we mentioned there.
Right.
Yeah, that's
I
a
think you can
fantastic
sell it
idea.
too and say, look
Yeah.
at the college kids, look at your pros. This is what they do. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
we need to step it up to nutrition wise.
You know what we may work on here? I guess our whole goal here is to make life easy for everybody. You know, coaches, parents, what we'll do is maybe we'll put together with Danny and Mike a little list that we'll share of like, here's like some great post game things that you can grab, and then mandate it for your team. All right. Because the other thing is this, like, I'm going to gripe here for a quick second. It boggles my mind. You'll bring munchkins. You know, half those kids are sick, and then they're all putting their grubby hands into the munchkin box. I don't want this one. I don't want that one.
I really don't want the munchkins. I don't want them, but they're sitting right there. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, why are you doing that to me?
And then you're sick as parents, right? As we all know, like your kids bring some of that sickness.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I love the idea,
dishes.
Danny. I love the idea of Danny and Mike just providing. Like, I love that thought process of like,
Right.
what is my go-to? It's already on my phone, right? I come up, I go, okay, guys, here's our choices today.
Yeah.
We have a game, and we have a game in 4 more hours. We're all stuck here. Give me my top 3 choices, as opposed to the other stuff, right?
Yeah, we promise it won't.
And I like the team vote. Like, here's the option, so it doesn't get mundane as I'm just gonna get a cheese stick, right? Maybe then the kids, the treat for the great performance is a Greek yogurt, and that's their life habit now.
Right. And those
or an athletic fuel shake.
We act like those don't taste amazing. Like, they're sweet as heck. They're pretty awesome as well.
Well, I think Danny, I think before we get out of here too, I do want you to mention that, because the fact that the way my athletes use it is not just the shake itself, but the protein powder, whether you're using Enduraphin or whoever, the options you have to put that and make that, you know, as part of your nutritional piece. Like you're talking about, sprinkle it into yogurt, you're making protein balls and pre-making snacks for your kids with high performance protein powder. Can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe you and Mike just give some perspective of, this is not just in a shake kind of thing. This is something you can put into your daily intake of food.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. It all started with that concept with the bottle, but we knew, you know, there are these other applications, whether it be in smoothies blended at home with fruit, right? Or putting it on top of the Greek yogurt, like you said. I mean, you look at the protein intake. If you take a scoop of our whey protein, 25 grams, plus probably a 20 to 25 gram protein Greek yogurt, like we're getting close to hitting our goals, right? With then breakfast, lunch, and dinner too in there. But the bulk powder is a great option, right? When we started the company, it was about being clean, right? Convenient, and then create consistency.
Like, the question is for the kids that are listening is just, you know, they need to have some knowledge here about the importance of, you know, pre-practice, post-practice game, meals and food. Talk to them about making some really great choices, and maybe even tell them like how much of a better athlete they are when they make good choices.
Definitely. I mean, we hear all the time from the people that, you know, buy our product, who are the experts and working with, you know, the highest performers on the planet across sport, hockey obviously included, but they say, you know, good nutrition will not make an exceptional, great athlete exceptional, but bad nutrition can make an exceptional athlete average, right? And that's extremely important to understand. It's like, you know, eating good and doing the right things every day isn't what's necessarily going to make you great. All of the training and everything that you're already doing has to consistently be done. But if you consistently make poor decisions from nutrition, it will affect the way you perform on the ice and beyond. And I would say one of the hardest things for athletes today is knowing who to look for and who to listen to, because you open up your Instagram or your TikTok, whatever it is, and you look at the athletes that inspire you the most and that you want to be the most like. And a lot of times, unfortunately, a lot of these athletes will be doing marketing deals with companies and products that they aren't actually using to get better, right? You got to be able to sift through and understand what's effective and what's actually helping an athlete get to the next level, and what's just a facade for marketing. And that's really hard for young athletes and for parents to delineate between the two, right? It's like the biggest hydration brands that we see that are marketed with all of the professional sports leagues. What's funny is someone that's been as fortunate as Danny and I have been able to be in the locker room of so many, whether it's MLB, NFL, NHL teams, is a lot of times the products they're using for hydration aren't the products that they're marketing with when you're watching commercials, right? It does take a little bit of research to go behind the scenes and understand like what's actually effective. And it's a little bit scary in a way, because not like when you think hydration, I don't want to like name brands, but the first three brands that probably come to every parent's mind are like not the brands that are used behind the scenes when it actually comes to like getting good electrolytes to stay hydrated throughout the day. It's kind of like I will mention the ones that are, I do see actually being used, and it's like, you'll actually see like LMNT and Drip Drop, right? Like being used in the professional scene, and it's not, the big three that you see everywhere else. So I would say if you really care about getting better and finding things that make sense, the best way to do it is probably ask people that you trust, that do things the right way, right? If you're on a team with a diet and you're fortunate enough to have a dietitian, ask them, right? Like, what can I do to be better, right? And usually, the great thing is dietitians and strength coaches at the Division I level, at the travel league level, at the professional level, they're a lot more accessible than the professional athlete, right? You send out an Instagram DM to a professional athlete, you'll be lucky to get a response, right? A lot of the time, but a lot of times, these dietitians and strength coaches are putting out free game on their page of, like, when you asked me at the beginning of the show, what are some easy meals that a parent could do for their kid? Like, when I scroll through Enduraphin's Instagram, we follow hundreds, if not thousands, of dietitians and strength coaches. They're constantly putting out, here's a great quick and easy pregame meal you can do for your kid. Here's a great postgame meal you can do for your kid. Here's the food you should avoid 90 minutes before a game, right? Don't eat certain spicy foods. Chipotle is such a common option in the hockey community. It's like, don't get hot sauce 90 minutes before a game, right? And there's all these little things that you can find that will make you better little by little if you start to look for the right advice. And don't fall for the big marketing trap of, your favorite player in the NHL and the product that, they're sponsored by. Like, do a little bit of additional research to know what truly works versus, what just wins because it has the most attention.
What's next for you guys? Where's Enduraphin going?
Yeah. So continuing to grow within collegiate and professional athletics. So mentioned about 100 Division I universities now, 50 plus professional teams and growing. We mentioned we got started in hockey, but the MLB and baseball has become a huge sport as well. You think about that sport and how much they're on the go. But really, it's staying true to the mission of delivering elite nutrition for elite athletes, and growing in the community, being able to share the story. So talking to the Syracuse Crunch up there, talking to Syracuse University, I feel like we should be able to figure something out as a hometown started brand up there. But yeah, continuing to be that voice of quality, convenient, and accessible information, right? And also making it cool, right? Like, I think you see water brands out there, all the time, that it's like water is cool when, NBA athlete carries it in pregame. Like, the brand and consuming protein should also be cool. And so starting to lean into that culture of sport and, hopefully become a major name that is known across the nation.
Well, we're very proud of you guys.
Yeah, you're definitely on your way. And for our audience, again, we didn't just bring in some schmoes to talk about food in the morning. We brought in guys that are leading the pack here in
They
high
sure
performance hockey, and that's why you guys are so awesome for being here. I'm going to say it again: win breakfast, win lunch, win dinner. That is such a great mentality, right? For every age. And look, hey, parents, you can do that too, right? Just bookending the episode, right? It starts with us. It starts with us bringing in the right stuff, right? You have Oreos on the counter, or do you have apples, right? Are you giving your kid a protein shake and a cheese stick before practice, or are you giving them Takis? The kid walked in one time with that. I was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? How are you going to even play with your mouth with that stuff? Guys, this has been a really fun episode. Again, we're going to join us on the ride to the rink too for the kids' parents. So if parents, we know your kids don't listen to you, but they probably will listen to us. I'm being sarcastic, but yeah, make sure you tune in for that episode. But Mike and Danny, thanks so much for joining us today on our
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, incredible. Thank you so much. Congrats on everything you guys have built in our building, and keep being a great spotlight for the great things going on in youth hockey. It's awesome.
Thanks, Danny. Yeah, you guys as well. All right. So, hey, audience, that's going to do it for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. If you have any questions, make sure you email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. And remember, you can write us. We get messages all the time. There's a link accompanying this episode in the description. You can send us a question, a comment, anything you want. We'll get some of those nutrition tips out to y'all. I think that's going to be a really good thing that we discovered here, is something for coaches to bring in the locker room of some choices for post-game to share with their parents. But for Christy, for Mike, for the other Mike, for Danny, I'm Lee. We'll see you on the next Our Kids Play Hockey. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.